Hi guys, welcome back to Almost Inevitable Design. My name is still PK, and today we're going to learn about CSS variables. Now, the best thing about CSS variables is that you can define a whole bunch of them and then use them anywhere on the website that you want. And this works with vanilla CSS as long as it's not in Internet Explorer 11. So that means you don't even need a compiler like Sass, because in Sass you can use variables with a $ in front. You can use variables, but you can't use that directly in the CSS. You need to compile that so it becomes regular CSS. But here, this is a variable that you can use in regular CSS because it is part of CSS directly. All right, so two things about CSS variables. There are global properties and local properties. We'll talk about both of them in the post. So global properties and local properties. All right, so let's go through global properties first. Now, regularly, when you look at CSS, you would see something like not CSS. When you assign a custom property, you use that custom property inside a variable. Okay, so when you assign a custom property, it would be done like this, as the root. So you don't just write root, you write :root like this. And inside there, you can add whatever custom property you want. Now, in order to define a custom property, you need those two double hyphens, a double hyphen or two hyphens. And then after that, you would add the name of the variable. And it's good to use a simple naming scheme. A very common one is BEM, block element modifier. And you can say something like section, I don't know, text, large, something like that. I don't know. Anyways, so something that is at least consistent. It doesn't have to be BEM, but at least consistent that you can understand. And it's better that you have things added, so appended at the end of each variable. So you keep appending as opposed to prepending, adding in front. Because it's easier to edit and modify later. Okay? All right, so here we have stuff like body color, accent color, line height, margin, unit 1, for example. Here is the whole CSS that I have on the post, and here is the whole HTML. Now, you will be getting a link to the fiddle, all right, to this. You'll be getting a link to that, and it's on the post, but we'll just work on it right here. All right, I'll show you the preview. Well, you saw the preview, but all right. So anyways, so here, that image, we don't necessarily need it. It's just there just so you can see that it takes up space here, so that's about it. There's not much going on there. So I'll just take that out just so it's easier to see what's going on here. So we've just defined body color, we've just defined accent color, red. You can use hex, RGB, whatever. It's the same as CSS values. And line height, margin unit 1, 6 rem. And as you can see, you can take that and wrap it inside a VAR for variable, and then have the parentheses and put the custom property in there, and this whole thing becomes a variable. Okay, and on the next line, you see something really cool. You can actually add that inside a calc. So you can actually have calc and then the margin unit 1, which is 6 rem. I always use 6 rem as my base unit. 1 rem, depending on the build, I can start with 20 pixels or 16 pixels. And then that's how I define it. And then 6 rem would be the base unit of spacing. And then I cut that in half for unit 2, and then quarters for unit 3, for example. Or when I'm using in Sass, I have my own fraction system. But anyways, we can do that, right? So you can actually do this, right? So margin bottom, you can have a quarter of that, right? Another thing you can actually do is you can make unit 2 and then do the half of that. So it's half of unit 1, right? You can also do stuff like unit 3 is half of unit 2. But then again, that means that because this whole thing gets inserted in here, and it works like that, you're just nesting calcs, and I like keeping it a little more simple to track down when you need to find errors, and you're not like nesting things inside each other and just making it too convoluted. I would rather just do something like this. That's easier. So it's all based off of that unit, and this works as well. You can actually make your whole system of that, margin unit 1, margin unit 2, for example, and then later, if you want to change, maybe tighten up or loosen up the spacing throughout the whole website, everything, if you wanted to, you can just change that, and the whole website will change because everything is based off of that, right? So this is how you can actually use custom properties, and then you can take this and style everything on the site depending on what you see here. Now, a lot of WordPress themes and page builders use this method. All right, let me show you. So here you can see we were talking about root, remember? And root is the HTML. As you can see, that's what you see right here. It says root. And this theme, I use Blocksy because, and I even use the free version of Blocksy. I was gonna code my website, but your own website, it's hard. And not mean hard as in you don't have the time to invest, and then like building a whole website, like client work gets precedence and all that kind of stuff. So I use Blocksy. It's a very reliable blogging e-commerce website, so I use that. I mean, e-commerce theme, so I use that. But it uses a lot of, and it's great that it uses a lot of CSS custom properties. And as you can see, you can pretty much use anything in here. All the colors, even RGB you can insert in there. And you can see like a whole font stack, and true is somewhere up there, and then you can have none, initial, that all works. It all works. This, you can see, like, you can define everything on the website from there. And as you can also see, it uses stuff like palette color number 1, and one of the reasons why I use Firefox always is because you can see the little thing, the little pop-up that highlights, that pops up when you hover your mouse over a variable. It actually shows you, it tracks down where it's coming from. So palette number 2 is FCC 126, right? So that is link hover color, and that's all based off of these guys. And these guys are what you can define in, like, for example, the theme color scheme, that kind of stuff. And that's how everything is set up. And using this can really be a great way of making sure everything on your website is consistent. And if you want to actually code stuff, maybe piggybacking off of something like this, if I'm editing something on Blocksy, for example, because I'm using Blocksy, you don't have to. There's a lot of themes that do this, and whatever you're using, if you see something like this, and if you're like, oh, I might as well use this, especially colors, if you want your custom code or your extra plugin or whatever to work with a theme like this, then it has its set of custom properties. You can just use that yourself, and because it is loaded, that custom property is loaded on the root, it'll just work. Whatever plugin you're using, whatever extra code you're adding, it'll all just inherit from the root. Okay, so that's a great way of using it on your website, right? Now, let's get into local properties, all right? Now, with local properties, it's a lot cooler, okay? It's a lot cooler in terms of, and this is something that not a lot of people actually knew about. They always thought it had to be done in root. It doesn't have to be. Let me show you how this works. I'll break this down for you, okay? So this code is what you're getting in the post, all right, on the website. And you also get a link to the fiddle. So this is the fiddle. And you can see here, I've set things up like, for example, the theme that I use, Bloxy, right? Like this is not an ad for Bloxy. It just happens to be Bloxy that I'm using right now. But yeah, anyways, you can actually set things here. Now, as you can see, I set it up like body color inverse, accent color inverse, light background, dark background, okay? It is not necessarily done in a BEM because I don't have to do that for this. It is at least logical and it's easy for me to understand, so that's fine. If it were to be BEM, closer to BEM, it would have to be like background light, you know, section, background light, something like that, you know? But I just wrote whatever is easier to read here for explanatory purposes. Okay, so body color is a dark gray, body color inverse is a light gray, and so on and so forth, yada, 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 right? I can actually write a class that says section color regular and another one that says section color inversed. And inside there, you can see section background is a new custom property. It's a new custom property by using the double hyphens. And I'm actually loading this guy, all right? Now, this theme, for example, is doing something similar. You can see that, right? So you can actually load, and we did that with globals as well. You can actually load a variable and assign that to a custom property, all right? So that means you can keep inheriting it, right? But you can actually do that also inside a class. It doesn't have to be root. It can be inside a class. And in that case, you can do stuff like section background, section accent color, section body color, all right? Now, here is section color regular, and inside we have text here. And you can see the H2 is set as text color accent. The paragraph is set as text color body, right? That's great. And that means later when you are loading text color accent, it gets its styling from this class, text color accent, which is defined as the color is the variable defined as section accent color, which is this guy, section accent color. Cool? Cool. So that means it gets its instructions from accent color, which is red, right? So that's what you're seeing. Now, if you have the exact same thing, text color accent, the exact same thing inside section color inversed as a child of section color inversed, then it will show differently because section color inversed defines section accent color as accent color inverse, which is yellow. Okay, so if you look at these guys from lines 29 to 36 and from lines 14 to 21, they are the exact same code. The exact same code. The only difference is their parents are either regular or inversed. Okay, and the code, the CSS that is there, you're not even doing this. We're not even doing this. It's not even nested in CSS as a selector. It's actually just that. And because it is defined by its parent as a different color, it shows differently. Okay, as you can see, that's yellow and that is red. Same code. The only difference is this guy, section color inverse, and section color regular, defining that variable differently. Okay, that is a local property, a local variable, and that is local property. Yeah, that is very, very cool. That is a very, very cool way of making your own templates. All right, and you can actually piggyback off of the theme while you're doing that. Okay, so if I were to use this exact way, all right, let's say for example I have like color info hover, color info active, color warning, and then color secondary, color primary. Oh yeah, color primary, color secondary. Then I can have a class that says secondary, and then anything inside secondary, whatever it is, I can define it as inherited from color secondary. And then if I have another parent class that is primary, then anything inside there, I can make it primary because I can define new things inside that class. Okay, so fork, this is, so if you go here, you can click on fork and you can make your own new fiddle with this code and play around with it. Try changing things, see what happens. And of course, after you edit it, you got to click on run, okay? And see what happens, play around with it, and it should be really cool. You might get a lot of great ideas, and later, once you get a hang of this, when you're building out well templated websites based off of a certain design guide or a certain set of styles, then this will be a lot of help. It will really be a great time saver, and it should work really well. Now, this also, CSS custom properties or variables also work inside a variable of Sass, okay? And if you know Sass, you can actually mix it with, and you can define the, so Sass variables look like this. Okay, and let's see, like, right? So that's what a Sass variable looks like. And you can actually add that in there. Body color, right? And this also works, okay? So there's a lot of cool things you can do once you understand and start using CSS variables. You can also make your own little set that you load, or if you're used to a theme that you use all the time, you can have you can add some local properties and just load that in the CSS file. Like almost every page builder has their own CSS section. You can add it in there, and then you can add just the classes and everything will just pop into place. All right, that's another way of doing it. If you need to learn, oh yeah, by the way, and I've seen a lot of people on YouTube say this, so I'm going to finish by saying, please subscribe. Hit that like button. I don't really care. I don't click on anybody's like buttons. I don't click on the bell. I don't do that. I do subscribe to a lot of people that I like to watch, but I don't care. But I do think that it would be great if you subscribe, because I am working on making a lot more videos, and there's a lot of stuff that I can probably publish that will help. Okay, and also have a look at the courses that I have. There will be more coming along soon, and I hope this has helped. All right, so I will see you in another video. Bye.